Hello, welcome to this AimHi Live. If you are joining for the first time, then yeah, this is an AimHi Live, so you can ask questions whenever you want. I'm going to talk about today about what's it like inside the bloodstream, and so it's going to be a science thing, but you can ask questions, like ask any kind of questions, and that'll direct where things go. People are coming in already. Jeff, Angel, Lily, great to see you guys. Okay, so yes, what's it like inside the bloodstream? I'm going to show you guys a picture that I found that is super cool, and I'm just going to flash it straight up on the screen. Jasmine's here, Kieran's here, Mladoan, how do we say your name? I thought it was an I for ages. I was saying Mia Dunn. Izzy Rose, Kira's back. Right, okay, so what's it like inside the bloodstream? The big question of the day. But first, what is this? What is this? What's going on? What do you guys think this is? Let me know what you think inside the chat. Ooh, I think this is actually pretty beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. I am gonna wait. Let's grab this so that we can keep it. What's it like inside the bloodstream? I'm gonna shift it up a bit so that you can see more of a full view. So yeah, what do you guys think that this is? And if you're joining for the first time, just one more reminder that this is an AimHi Live, so you can ask questions whenever you like and steer the direction this goes in. It's going to be about kind of what's it like inside the bloodstream, but it will also go in multiple different directions depending on what questions people ask. So we'll see. Right. Yes, people are asking. So the suggestion coming in is that this is the heart of a blue whale. So blue whales are the biggest of all the whales. But they're not necessarily the smartest. We think that sperm whales are probably smarter. And in fact, people were asking before when Henry's live was going to be about NASA and what NASA has to do with sperm whales, and that is on Friday now. It's going to be on Friday at 2. So come along to that because it's so good. It's so interesting. I was scrolling down so many cool facts when I was watching him try it out as his first one. Some people joining late. Mariella, Pumpkin Master, welcome. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything yet. We're just talking about this big old heart. And so, yeah, the overall topic is what's it like inside the bloodstream. Ask questions whenever you want. This is a blue whale heart. I'm glad that you guys loved the poetry live earlier. It was so good, wasn't it? That's the thing. I normally, the things that I liked the most at school, I found science was the thing that I kind of found them the easiest to get into. I've always found poetry really hard to get into at school, but I've since met some really inspiring people who are really good at poetry, and Phil's one of them. And yeah, I also thought his live this morning was absolutely phenomenal. So anyone who missed it, oh, Kieran, you're at uni. Okay, actually, at the end of this, I'm going to send you guys a few questions so that we can figure out if we're doing things at the right time for you guys, but I'll send you those later. For now, let's talk about this heart. Right, so there used to be all these claims about how a blue whale's heart was the size of a bus, which is clearly ridiculous, or a Volkswagen Beetle or whatever. But it's pretty big. If you were a child, you could easily crawl inside this heart. How many Coke bottles worth? So how many 1 litre Coke bottles? So it's basically a litre. How many litres of Coca-Cola could a blue whale heart pump in 1 minute? What do you guys reckon? How many? And if I always find it quite hard to imagine what a litre is. So just try and imagine a litre bottle of Coke. How many of those could the blue whale pump in 1 minute? What do you guys think? Pumpkin Master saying, isn't the heart the size of the gorilla? Which is a funny measuring system. Yeah, it's like Chinese dolls, isn't it? And if the heart was run by a gorilla, that would also be good. You know, when you're younger and that's the way you kind of understand yourself, when you're really small, you're like, oh, well, there's the tummy person in there who's dealing with food. I used to do that. Okay, people are ramping up their guesses. Whoa, Melodon's put 1,000,000. I calculated this with when I was chatting to my dad earlier, and we came out at 12,000 liters that it can pump in a single minute, which is a lot of Coca-Cola. If Coca-Cola is what it's supplying. So do you guys know, like, do you know how the heart works in terms of the different sections? I'm gonna just draw it on top of this heart. So this is blue whale heart is similar enough to a human heart. So what you got going on is you got your, let's give it its sections. And then let's just give it a gap here. There's an entryway. We'll split it down the middle. And then we'll have another exit around the top. Exit on the top. And then another entrance here. Right. Okay. Oh, you guys are all already coming in with loads of shouts about the structure. Okay, you could, yeah, let's see how many you can name actually. Right. So if this is where the deoxygenated blood comes into the heart, what's that called? What is that one called, for those who remember? And that goes into this first chamber. And then we go, so first I want to know, number one, what's the entranceway called? Number two, what's the first chamber that it goes into? Number three, what's the next chamber it goes into after that? And then number four, what is the name of the thing that it's pumped out of? And the same on the other side. So again, so here it gets pumped in here, so that's chamber number 5, and then it gets pumped to a chamber down here. So that's chamber number 6. Oh, in fact, I've missed one. Let's do number 7 as the vessel it comes in via, and then number 8 can be the vessel it leaves via. So I've got those slightly out of order. Oh well. Okay, right. So basically the key, so there are names here, and like, great if you can name them, but don't worry if you can't name them. What I want you to see is just like how a heart works. So basically the key thing is a heart is split into 2 sides. Heart halves. The heart comes in halves. And yeah, it's split into 2 halves. And so this one we would call the right hand side, because even though it's on our left, you have to imagine that you are the whale, and then it's like on the whale's right. So, and that's, you label everything in the body you do that with. So if you're looking at someone and you see that on your right hand side there's like, you're looking at that kidney, then that's the left kidney. So you always do it as if you are the person. Medicine's very selfless, it's very giving, so you have to think about the person. So this side we call the right side. Right. Oh, it's not very clear. Let's use like white or something. Yeah, so this is the right side here, and then this is the left side. And the key thing you need to know is that all the blood comes in to the right side with no oxygen in it. So we're going to start colouring that all in blue. And it flows into chamber 1, and chamber 1 squidges it into chamber number 3. Sorry, chamber 2 squidges it into chamber number 3, and chamber 3 squidges it out here. So let's see what people know. Okay, I'm trying to catch up on the chat. Let's see what you guys think. Has anyone labeled anything? No one's labeled any numbers, and you guys are talking about something hurts your teeth. Oh, I'm literally crunching ice. What? Right, okay, let's bring it all back. So yeah, I don't know how many of these you know, but the number 1 is called the vena cava. That's like the mother of all the veins, where all the veins collect together and bring all the deoxygenated blood into the heart. And then number 2 is called, does anyone know what number 2 is called? Actually, I'm going to put these in little boxes. Number 3 and number 4. Yeah, so number 1 is called the vena cava. I think it's spelled like that. I'm rubbish at spelling. And number 2 is called the right atrium. Yeah. You guys are getting it. And number 3. Oh, someone thinks it's got no E in it. You're probably right, there's got no E in it. I'm so bad at spelling things, always have been. So yeah, it goes, so all the blood with no oxygen left in it flows into the vena cava and into the right atrium, which goes, squeezes and pushes it into number 3, which is called the right ventricle. Yeah. And then the right ventricle does a big pump and pumps it up through what? No, someone was taught vena cava with an R. Ah! I don't know. It's vena cava or vena cava. It's one of those. Yeah, and this one's called the pulmonary artery. Now, what's unusual about the pulmonary artery? What is unusual about the pulmonary artery? And the pulmonary artery goes off to the lungs. So if you're inside the bloodstream, if you're inside the whale of the heart, if you're inside the bloodstream of a whale, then you can if you're a small enough child, then you can like swim down the bloodstream. You're swimming along, you swim into the vena cava, you like plunge, fine, this is going to be absolutely great. You're inside the right atrium, you're having the best time, and then you get squeezed into the right ventricle. You've still got no oxygen in the blood, that's fine. And then the right ventricle here is going to give you a good squeeze, and then you're going to be shot up the pulmonary artery. And the thing that's weird about the pulmonary artery is that it's the only artery that's carrying blood that still has no oxygen in it, which is fine, because artery means it's going away from the heart. So this artery goes away from the heart and it goes off to the lungs, and in the lungs it gets full up with delicious oxygen in the lungs, because you breathe it in, and then that's going to run by the blood, and then the blood is going to get pumped. Now it's full of oxygen, it's going to get pumped into number 7. What's number 7 called? That's a whole load of spellings. Lily's talking about how many ways people spell vena cava. It's Venus something. It's Venus something. It's got a complicated sounding name, but it sounds like the mother of all veins, right? It's the big vein. It's the one that almost all the veins collect together into to bring blood back to the heart. Right. So yeah, now we've got the pulmonary vein, and that's the only vein in the body that's carrying oxygenated blood, because it's carrying blood straight from the lungs, but it's going towards the heart, so we still call it a vein. So that's the weird thing. Artery means going away from the heart, vein means going back towards the heart. But normally arteries carry oxygenated blood, and normally veins carry deoxygenated. So yeah, pulmonary vein plunges into number 5, which you will all know because you'll smash the other one. So I'm just gonna lay down 5 and 6 quickly. 5 and 6, and then what's the name for number 8? The exit. So yeah, number 5 is the left atrium. I always remembered atrium as being like the atriums, like the way into the house. And so it's like the entrance to the heart is always the atrium. And then the ventricle is the really strong one. That sounds really strong, doesn't it? And that's the one that does the big pump. And then finally the aorta, which is like the mother of all arteries. So complicated sounding thing for arteries. Cool, right. So yeah, that's how the heart works. So basically it goes through that way through one side, and then on the other side it does the same thing but oxygenated, going into the atrium, pushed into the ventricles, squeezed out the aorta, going off to the rest of the body. Right, fine. That's how the heart works. Moving on to a frog. Now this frog is wearing snail headphones. Okay, do you guys know why? So there's a strange thing that goes on in some places. This is going to be quite an open-ended question. There's a strange thing that goes on in certain places in the world where and it is quite cruel in some ways. Well, in many ways, but it is a practice that's used where sometimes people will inject a small amount of their urine into the skin of a frog. Why would humans do that? What possible reason could humans have for injecting their urine into a frog? Why would humans inject their urine into a frog? I'm absolutely certain that there just came up with a spelling line underneath it, and I'm like freaking out now. Surely I've spelled there right. I am a bit bad with spelling. I always have been, because yeah, you don't really don't really need spell in my line of work. Okay, so why would humans inject their urine into a frog? Because humans are weird? Correct. Amy is saying science? Correct, except you've also got the spelling. We're both bad at spelling. Sineche. And Oliver, that just sounds really mean. It is mean. So melatonin is spot on, actually. It's to do with some reaction, and it's to see if you are pregnant. So it wouldn't be male urine that you'd use. You'd use the urine of a female, and by injecting it into the frog, if within 24 hours that frog starts producing loads of eggs, then you know that the human was pregnant. Because the frog has some of the same female hormones that are active during pregnancy, and so it's a pregnancy test, and it's something that has been used in traditional cultures, I think, for a long time, which is and it does kind of mess up a frog's innocent life. But it's strange that it works. But it would be really, annoying if frogs came and injected their urine into us to see if we developed eggs, and we should think about that. Right. So the reason I'm talking about a frog is because frogs, if you're swimming around the bloodstream of a frog, then you're going to have quite a different experience in the heart. So does anyone know what's different about a frog heart? I'm going to start drawing it. So obviously, you got your heart situation going on there. I'm just going to open up some vessels. Right. Oh, no, I didn't open the last one. Okay, so drawing up frog heart. So again, you've got the atria. So the atrium where the blood enters the heart, and then the other atrium where the blood enters the heart. So let's see what people think. What's different about frogs? Why has the frog got snails on it? Yeah, I don't know, Lily. I don't know the answer to that. I thought it was listening to beats. Frogs are cheaper than pregnancy tests. That's a horrible thought, isn't it? Anyway, not cheaper, only cheaper in terms of money, not cheaper in terms of the health of the planet. And Tova is asking if frogs recover from this. I actually don't know the answer to that, Tova. All I know is that it's a thing that's used in some places in the world, and it's pretty horrifying, isn't it? Japan Mabel's saying fashion that's why it's wearing the ear. Yeah, do you think they're earmuffs? Do you think it's a warmth thing, or do you think it's beats? And how did people know if they were pregnant before pregnancy tests? So it was just like natural cycles, just like seeing if periods were missed and stuff like that. And okay, Oliver's asking if frogs have 3 chambers instead of 4. Bang on, yeah, that's it. And did you know actually that frogs are one of the few animals that has a similar brain ratio to humans, as in their brain is very large compared to the rest of their body, just like humans. The other thing that's weird about frogs is that they have such a high content of iron in their blood that they are, if you put them inside, I'm just doing little bits of iron that exist inside the frog. If you put the frog inside a strong enough magnetic field, then you can hover the entire frog. You can make it completely levitate. And the same is theoretically true of humans. It's just you need a much stronger magnetic field. But certainly they've shown that you can levitate frogs, which again, I don't know, like, okay, if I was a frog, I'd be pretty annoyed about the urine being injected into me. But the levitation could be a good experience. Difficult to tell. You can't really get the frog's consent. It's a bit of a tricky area. Probably not cool. Anyway, so yeah, frogs have... do frogs have ears? I think so, yeah, because it would make sense because they make communicating noises, and there are other things they're related to all have ears. But come to think of it, you're asking the question, I'm suddenly thinking, do they? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. Okay, the thing that's weird about a frog heart is that yes, you're going to have the deoxygenated blood coming in to the right atrium again, and then it's going to go into this ventricle, but actually the ventricle is just one big ventricle, so they only have 3 chambers. And so you get this quite weird thing where some of the deoxygenated blood will then get pumped up to the lungs. So this is going off to the lungs. And then it's obviously going to come back oxygenated and go in the left atrium. But then it'll get pumped into the central ventricle again. And then some of it will go off to the body of the frog. Frog, or froge, if you'd like to put an E on the end of frog, then I guess you'd pronounce it froge. And then obviously the body will deoxygenate it and send it back to the right atrium. But yeah, so frogs only have this one central ventricle, which means that their blood mixes up. So what this means is that basically if you're inside the bloodstream of a frog, then you have options. Like, you don't have to go via the lungs, because the lungs would probably not be a great experience, because all the blood goes down into super, super, super narrow capillaries so that you can get the maximum surface area all over the surface of the lungs, so you can get as much gas, as much oxygen in as possible, and as much carbon dioxide out. So it's not cool. So actually being inside the bloodstream of an animal that's going to force you to go through the lungs, not great. Great thing about a frog, if you get to choose which bloodstream you're going into, is that you do get this choice. You're coming in deoxygenated blood, and then you can just take a right turn in the ventricle. Remember that. Enter the ventricle, you will get swept round to the left, right turn, take the right turn to go right back round the body again. If you go left, that's going to be bad news. Right, I'm going to quickly, okay, I'm interested to know though, what would you, okay, if you could shrink down really, really small, then what would you prefer? Would you prefer to be in the bloodstream of a frog or inside the bloodstream of a whale? I'm interested to know like which way this is going. Yeah, please let me know. And I'm just going to catch up on the chat because loads of stuff has been pouring in and I have not been reading it. So Ultan is asking, does it hurt the frog if you make it levitate? The answer is no. No, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to be levitated, because it's a very like uniform thing. It would be like being picked up from every part. And Jeff says that his dad says that Jeff's saying that frog brains are actually larger in proportion to their body than a human, and that may well be right. I know that it's a very similar ratio. Would it work with? Kieran's asking, would this work with cane toads? And cane toads are. Wait, so Angel is saying frogs do not have external ears like us. However, they do have eardrums and an inner ear. So the frog ear is called. Frog's ear. So the frog's has this ear which isn't open, and it's like the circle that you see behind the frog's eye. Whoa, that's so cool. Wow, that's so interesting, Angel. Cool. What if? So Izzy's asking if they absorb blood through their skin. So frogs won't absorb blood through their skin, but maybe you were talking about absorbing oxygen through their skin. And Japan maybe would spell it froge. So cane toads are an invasive species in Queensland, Australia. I don't really know about those. And Japan Mabel was saying, make sure to indicate when inside the heart of a frog. So, okay, most of the votes seem to be going towards being inside a whale. Probably better to be inside a whale in many ways. Although Kieran's saying that it would be bad to be inside a whale if the bloodstream was made of Coca-Cola. If anyone missed the beginning of the lesson, we were talking about how much Coca-Cola a whale could pump. And so, oh, wait a minute. Let's send a quick message. Right. Let's move on. Oh, everyone's talking about the magic school bus. Okay, sick. Right, so I think most people would prefer to be inside the whale and basically risk the lungs. And that is, I mean, the whale is obviously more appealing in many ways, but the lungs are going to be risky, and you maybe will have to like try and swim against the tide for a while, and maybe you'll have to just like burrow your way out of the bloodstream at some point. But then you're essentially a parasite, and parasites are really horrible. Right. Okay. Next thing I was going to talk about is these birds. I think I was talking about these birds on another live. Does anyone know what these birds are called and what they are up to? Mochi's asking how long is this stream? It's probably about another 4 minutes, maybe 5. Yeah, they're supposed to be about half an hour, but they often overrun because I think I get quite enthusiastic, and so do the other people running them. Yeah, if you are late to join, then this is an AimHi live. There are loads of people. There's like a group of people doing these. So go on the website to check out the others. Because if you're watching on my YouTube or on my Facebook, then you will find that only shows mine. Whereas you need to go here to find all the others. But do go to that. That would be great if you could. So right, yes, these dentist birds, cleaning birds. Jeff's come up with the actual name, which is the Egyptian plover. The Egyptian plover, otherwise known as the crocodile bird. I'll just call it Egyptian plover for now. Yeah, the Egyptian plover basically has this sweet deal with the crocodile, where the crocodile won't eat it, probably, and then the Egyptian plover goes in, eats all the scraps of meat, delicious bits of meat. And obviously wearing an overcoat to retain dignity. Don't want to be naked inside the crocodile. That'd be terribly rude. And yeah, the bird goes in and picks all the scraps of meat off the teeth, and in exchange, the crocodile gets clean teeth. Right. What is interesting about the blood of a crocodile compared to the blood of a human? What's the difference between crocodile blood and human blood? What do you guys think? What's the difference between crocodile blood and human blood? Okay, so yeah, Jeff and Span Maple and Jasmine and Mariella all saying it's cold-blooded. Right, it's cold-blooded, and the fact that it's cold-blooded means that, so for those who don't know, a crocodile so reptiles are cold-blooded, which means that they can't heat themselves up. So when they don't have the heat of the sun, that's why they bask in the sun all day, because by basking in the sun they can heat themselves up and then they can go about their daily business. But at nighttime, if they get really cold, then all of their biological functions slow down and they become less and less able to move around and do stuff. So yeah, if you, for example, like caimans, if you're wandering around at night and you find a caiman on the ground and it's really cold, then even though they can really ferocious and quite dangerous during the day, you can just approach them and pick them up a lot of the time, because often they're unable to respond with a great deal of movement because all of their bodily functions are just kind of closed down. It's a bit like we were talking about this morning, how you can travel forwards in time by cooling yourself down because you slow your biological functions. So that's the thing. I wonder if for crocodiles and other reptiles is an even more extreme thing during the night, where they just like jump forwards in time. And okay, so there's one other thing I was gonna tell you guys about that's to do with blood, and this is called the blood. In fact, no, I know what I'm going to tell you about. I'm going to tell you about what happens if. So this is to do with blood. What happens if you have a woman who's about to give birth, and for some reason she needs to have an operation. And you give her a general anesthetic. Which means she's going to go to sleep. How does that affect the baby? So if you have let's have the crocodile can be the mother, and inside the mother you've got this baby, and baby human, because the crocodile is representing a human mother. So baby human inside the crocodile, and the mother's about to give birth, but we've injected the crocodile with anesthetic, with general anesthetic. General anesthetic means generalized. It goes over your whole body. So if we've injected the crocodile with general anesthetic, then what happens to the baby? Oh, Tova's asking about why you'd want to pick up a caveman. Yeah, caiman. I'm talking about the little alligator things. So Japan people saying the baby just slides out. And Jeff's asking if the baby falls asleep. And Jasmine's just complimenting how well dressed the baby is. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you. Yep, baby's very well dressed. Yeah, what happens as the general anesthetic crosses into the so ultran's just come in with nothing. So it's not nothing, but what you have to remember is that even though the bloodstreams are linked, they're linked via this thing called the placenta, and the placenta is this very weird thing which we think evolved from viral DNA. We think it almost began as like some kind of infection, which then evolution took hold of and was like, we can use that thing and we can use it to make babies healthier somehow. Anyway, the placenta is what feeds the baby all of its blood through the umbilical cord via the belly button, and it's the placenta that is linked to the mother's bloodstream. So all the blood has to go through the placenta first. And the placenta is this amazing barrier that actually sorts stuff out. And it's like, right, we'll take that, we won't take that, we'll take that. And so people who said that the general anesthetic will affect the baby were right. It will. And so if you give a mother a general anesthetic during childbirth, then the baby will come out really sleepy. But if you give them like muscle paralyzers, so, oh God, that's another word I'm going to be rubbish at spelling. Paralyzers or something. If you give them like muscle relaxants or muscle paralyzers, they will not cross the placenta. And so that means that the baby may come out sleepy, but will come out still being able to move, which is great because babies love being able to move. And yeah, that is the end. Apart from, wait, I'm going to say one more thing. One more. This is not a science fact, but this is just a fact about me. I'm a twin. And who do you think came out first, me or the other one, the evil twin? And while you're answering that, I am just gonna say thanks so much everyone for coming. We've been running these AimHi lives for free to offer like something fun and interesting to do during the lockdown, and there are loads of ones going on from like poetry, philosophy and so on. There's one straight after this actually at 3 p.m, so in half an hour, by Hannah, which is going to be about equal society, which I think is going to be really interesting as well, and I'm going to watch that one too. If you are, I'm not an identical twin. But one thing that would be so helpful for me, if you can do it, is if you can like give me some thoughts about stuff. And there's this thing here. There we go. Yeah, if you guys could fill out that, then that would help me so much to make this better and to help it to reach more people and to make it more good. So anyone who fills out that will be my best friend. Thank you. And yeah. And who? Okay, everyone's saying it was me first. No, I was second. I was chilling in there. I was like, no, I'm not coming out. And then it was my twin sister. I've got a twin sister. And then she obviously was first. And I was like, nope, not following her. Wherever she's going, can't be as good as here. And then eventually I was like, oh, fine. Followed her out. Anyway, so that's the story of my birth. I don't know how that came into this. But yes, yes, so please do fill out the form. That'd be really great if you could. I will be back I'm doing another live actually tomorrow at 10 a.m, which is the same one as I did on Monday, I think. So do come along to that if you missed the one on Monday. That's at 10 tomorrow, and then I'll be back at 2 tomorrow as well. And Hannah's straight after this. And I'm pretty sure there's someone else on tomorrow morning as well. So check out the calendar at aimhi.co. And yeah, please do fill out that form. I'll send it one more time in case it's disappeared up the chat. That would be so great if you could. Yeah, and also if Kieran, if you're talking about having uni at 7 p.m, fill out that form, because that would also tell us when we should do these so that we can get a better idea of when to do them. Thank you all. See you all tomorrow. or in 20 minutes if you come to town as one. Ciao.